Right, hello, I'm for the live stream. I was a bit late getting this one started, but basically it was either start it a bit late or not do one. So I thought I'd just start at 8:15 or whenever I was ready. So I was planning on streaming last night, and then I just had too much on, basically. I had to get a video filmed, do some stuff, and then by the time I realised it was coming up to the time I'd want to start streaming yesterday, I still hadn't had dinner or anything, so that's why I didn't do a stream yesterday. But I thought I'd do one today. So weird thing is, today I have bought an old game. Some of you might be able to guess what it is. When I say old, I mean probably 15 or so years old now. But there's a game I bought today that I've played through before on CD-ROM, I think it was. I'm pretty sure this was before games were on DVD-ROM. So there's a game I played through on CD-ROM today. Wow, I bought it actually on Steam because there's a Steam release, and I thought it'd be easier to patch and I wouldn't have to go find where it is on like a shelf. So yeah, there's a game I bought on CD-ROM that was pretty notorious at the time it came out, although playing it now, it's still kind of edgy, but it's one of those things like, wow, there's people that wanted all this banned back in the day, so that's kind of funny. Some of you might not know what it is. Hello everybody, there's literally videos of me playing Fallout on this channel, so the answer to that is obviously yes, unknowns. But yeah, Mike, don't tell anybody straight away, Mike, because I've actually told you what it was, but some other people might want to take a guess. But again, it's one of those weird things, isn't it, when you talk about something and have a nightmare in it, and then suddenly think, oh, actually, I want to play that again. Because just talking about it yesterday wouldn't have probably probed me to reinstall it, but yeah, you'll need tubes for Electron. Sorry, you'll need leads for an Electron tube. Do you mean like crocodile clips? All right, cool. Yeah, glad you found the Imperial War Museum interesting. It's definitely worth going there, isn't it, if you're in London? No, I don't off the top of my head, Lucas, no. Right, so does anybody want to have a guess at what the game was? I suppose some of the people might have missed the beginning of the stream where I was explaining. So, game from the early 2000s, very controversial. I think banned in some places, and they talked about banning it in other places. So, that might give it away. I know there's a lot of controversial games in the early 2000s, but it's one of the ones that people could probably make an educated guess on. I've never played the sequel to it. You can actually now, though, get the sequel on PC. So there is that. At the time, it didn't even get a PC release, the sequel, but I've heard the sequel's proper crap. Yeah, Manhunt, Rich. I've got on CD-ROM somewhere. Same developer, Drunk Russian, but a bit darker than San Andreas. So yeah, Manhunt. Because yeah, in the really cool thing of the manual you got on the actual original game version of it in a box is like the back when they used to make booklets for video games, the booklet for Manhunt's meant to be like a snuff film order catalogue, like back when they used to put a lot of effort into manuals before they just became really thin and then you don't get them at all now. I'd say the TF12D easily over that, except for the drinking tube. Yeah, no, it's definitely not Fortnite. That would be very grim. The stupid thing in Fortnite at the moment is they did some Martin Luther King thing, didn't they? And now it's just like little kids going like, oh, I don't know who that is. Like, let's do emotes in front of random black man because they don't know history. So yeah. I think Brighthall, they're probably talking shit in all honesty. Would be my guess. I don't think Belarus could take Poland, could they? But yeah, so Manhunt is, like I said, good edgy fun. But yeah, like I said, I'm finding it a lot easier replaying it now. I guess it's just because I'm a bit more patient with the stealth mechanics in it. I don't know. If you're in a museum, it would have a sign saying what the mask was. People keep doing my phone while I'm I think it was Mike replying to other people. Hang on, let me have a quick look. So it might not be relevant to this. Yeah, it's something not related to the stream, don't worry. I'm tempted to Unknowns just because of the fact that the new Battlefield has a load of stuff from Bad Company 2 and that in it, doesn't it? But yeah, so I've been playing Manhunt today. That's all I've really been doing. Just because I was like, oh, I really want to play that again now. I don't know about rarer masks being easier to find, but most masks are much harder due to COVID. It's a pretty simple thing. People wanted a demand, there was a big demand for masks. Masks sold out. And that's all that happened with the mask, like the common masks being less available now. Yeah, Rich, as in because there's some of the backstory in the manual and they couldn't be asked to translate it, that sort of thing. I've not played Metro Exodus. It's the Metro one I've not played. Is it though, Brighto? Because I thought Hatred is literally a bit like a paint the town red thing, just with a bit more realistic graphics. Yes, that's the one. That's Pigsy Flazzy right at the end. Yeah, with his knob hanging out. Yeah, that's Pigsy. Yeah, that's the last level with Pigsy in the attic. But yeah, it's the one where you're going around killing all the gangs in the various places. It's meant to be in a rundown Rust Belt town, so it's meant to be Detroit or somewhere like that. It's either Detroit or I think I've watched some videos where people are trying to analyze bits of the lore. But I think people are saying it's probably either Detroit or Chicago is probably what Carter City is based on. Yeah, I've never seen an S10 for £15 reliably. I did get one for £15. That was just a car boot sale price. Online, they were always about 30 to 35. You mean so instead of using a drinking tube, just sealing that up? Yeah, don't use glue though. Use silicone adhesive. No, not properly. I do know of Bully, obviously. But that was the one I never really played. But that came out at a similar time to Manhunt, didn't it? And San Andreas and all those. Because GTA 3 was the first of their 3D ones, wasn't it? And GTA 3 is good. Then it was Vice City, if I remember. Then I think Bully and Manhunt came around at the same time, didn't they, before San Andreas? Or maybe I'm remembering the order wrong. And then obviously GTA 4, 5 and that are all the newer ones. Yeah, not too bad. AK-47. My back's definitely getting better. But it's one of those things, I think I've said before. Some days it still feels better than others. So yesterday I'd say it felt a bit better than today, but today is nowhere near as bad as last week, if that makes sense. For the people saying, do I have this mask, do I have that mask, watch my videos. If you're too lazy to do that, don't bother asking, because it gets frustrating when I keep getting asked over and over and over again in the same stream, do you have this, do you have that? If I have it, there'll be a video on it. Yeah, I know what it's about, Drunk Rush, and I just never got it because I think when it first came out and that, it was a bit out of the price range I wanted to pay for it. Okay, Brighto. So yeah, but like I said, the answer is when people say, have you got this mask, and it's a thing, the easy way of looking at it is look at my channel. You're on it right now. You can just click the thing, search the name of the mask. No, I do not play World of Warcraft. But yeah, Hype sent me that Nixie Tube clock, but you can buy them on AliExpress quite easily. I think they'd be exactly the same, wouldn't they, Lucas? Because as far as I'm aware, the Norwegian ones are still going to be made by Avon, so they're still going to be a mask exported. So they'll be exactly the same as far as I'm aware. The only thing I know that's different on some of the FM12s is the canteens they come with, because some nations build compatible canteens, or they have a canteen lid that fits the drinking tube, but then, fits onto their nation's canteen. Yeah, it's weird stuff like that, isn't it, Rich? But I was saying, it really annoys me now that games just don't seem to do manuals whatsoever. Like, here's the thing. If I look at my installed Manhunt from today, does that have a manual with it? That's what I want to see. Is there a manual, like, I can get up? So let's search Manhunt. So last played today, 2.3 hours. And then properties. I bet there's not a manual, but let's just go to the local files just to see. There's a README, but that's just a very basic README. It's not the manual. Rockstar Online, Rockstar Games, Rockstar North. Sadly, I don't think they included a manual, which is really annoying, because the PC games manual, and I think it was the same for the console versions, is really good for Manhunt. You can find it online, but it's not, like, what do you call it? It's not like, scanned in at a particularly high resolution. It's just a shame of, like, the old good manuals when you can't, Unknowns on Steam, it's about £5, so probably $7 or so. It might be even cheaper on like some key websites or Good Old Games or whatever. Manhunt 2 is the difficult one to get, just because it was banned in some countries, even without like censors playing it, because Manhunt's won reputation, and I think it's one of those weird ones now where you can only legally buy it through a couple of places. Like it's an out of print sort of one, so most people just pirate it, but I've heard it's not very good anyway. And like, has nothing to do with Manhunt 1 other than like, being a similar sort of gameplay system. Of course I've played Fallout 3. Why would I not have played Fallout 3? What for, Craig? Sorry. But there's like I said, there's Manhunt does have a good actual like, not like a walkthrough manual, but just one of the manuals that's. I have it in the house somewhere because I've got it on PC. I couldn't be asked before this stream to go get it. I have no idea about any BAE Systems electronics. You probably might want to inquire at BAE or a channel that goes into military vehicles and hardware. Hot Coffee sex mod for Grand Theft Auto. That wasn't Hillary Clinton, that was Jack Thompson, wasn't it? The bloke who got all funny about the video games. Massive fan of the old Command and Conquers. So, right, we're living in the time period of Command and Conquer's generals at the moment, aren't we? With all the stuff going on in the Middle East and China. And Command and Conquer 1 always seems more relevant every time I play it. All right, cool. I didn't know anything about it, but yeah. So I'm assuming it's an electronic chemical detector rather than it being like a testing paper type one. But yeah. But yes, I really like the Command and Conquers. I'd say Stronghold is still probably my favorite RTS or Stronghold Crusader. But yes, Command and Conquer Remastered, I 100%, which took me quite a while, but I did want to do all the missions on hard. Depends which Resident Evils. The old ones I like, but I find the tank controls quite clunky. So I do like the games. It's just I kind of find they're not very fun to play nowadays. The newer Resident Evils, like 7, I wasn't a massive fan of. But Resident Evil, like the 2 remake, the 3 remake, Resident Evil 8, I all enjoyed. And I never played Brutal Legend. What were the other games? Somebody asking about the Metro games. Played the first 2, not Exodus, as I already said this stream. What, Liberty Prime is in the communist destroying robot? Well, that's a good robot then, isn't it? But, I mean, not too much. I did start playing Call of Pripyat again with a different mod setup on it recently. But I do like Stalker. It's just, again, I think it's one of those things where I have to be in the mood to want to completely play it through, because otherwise what happens is I'll start a new game of Stalker, play an hour or two and enjoy it, and then kind of not have the motivation to redo the entire game. I didn't even know that, Drunk Russian. I'll have to search it up, Fuzzy, because I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Or is that another Fallout thing? Oh, is that the one? Yeah, I don't think I ever had that as a companion in Fallout 3. Because isn't there a trader that's like it's following around or something? But I never got the option to buy it whenever I played it. But I might have to replay Fallout 3 again now at some point. Oh, the coffee cat being referenced to hot coffee sex mod. Well, an old game I was replaying recently, Craig, I'm trying to remember what it was. Fallout 1. So that's from that same time period. I've been playing Fallout 1 and 2 recently. So, that's going back to the mid-90s. I never actually played the Warriors one because that was done by Rockstar, wasn't it? And obviously it's based on the film, I assume. But again, I heard a lot of people saying like Manhunt's quite similar to the Warriors, as in, like the gang sort of killing each other. I have seen the film, but I've never played the game. No, none of those AK-47. There's also like the medic armor, isn't there, Flazzy, that yowls out that breaks the stealth as well. That's quite funny. Like the medic's power armor or whatever it is that keeps saying stuff in like "you've been shot, you wimp" or whatever it is. Well, I followed the fall of Afghanistan quite closely, Max, and Biden fucking everything up. Yeah, but other than that, not to a huge degree, because as I said before, we shouldn't have been there in the first place. But the West did the worst possible job of pulling out. So again, I don't want this whole stream to turn into an Afghanistan one now. Yeah, Metal Gear Solids are good. I've never been a massive fan of Metal Gear, but I don't dislike them. It's just not a game that really ever, I particularly got into. Yeah, that's going to the very old sort of things now, where you're talking about things like Spectrum computers. Yeah. Well, I don't play mobile games for the most part because my mobile is there basically to act as a mobile internet search thing when I'm out. Obviously, to act as a mobile phone and to work with apps. Like things like the radio code type thing. Apps like that. I've only got like a couple of very simple games on the mobile, and then I never end up playing them. Right, so Far Cry. The modern Far Cry is not as much, weirdly, but the old Far Cry. So the Far Cry 1 games, because there's a load of different versions of Far Cry 1. There was like the PC one, and then there was two different Far Cry games on the original Xbox, and then on the 360 they had both of those released in one like package together. And that was called something like Far Cry Instincts or Far Cry Predator, wasn't it? Something like that. Or Far Cry Instincts Evolution, something like that it was called. So those I liked, the Jack Carver ones. Then you had Far Cry 2, which is actually surprisingly good, especially if you mod it, the one in Africa, like during, some sort of African civil war. Then Far Cry 3 was all right, and I really like Blood Dragon, but the problem is the Far Cry series is I kind of liked it when they were more like Far Cry 2. Not really, Will, because you'd need all the like site infrastructure there to do it, and I'm not the person to ask about that. I really like games on PS1 when I was a lad, which isn't as like old as some of the people here, but yeah, I think older games are genuinely better, like not graphically. But I am one of those people that still thinks I can have a lot more fun when I go back and play an old game. It's like, oh, it's not a 4 hour long story, you know, and stuff like that. Yeah, because that's the thing. There's mods for the PC version, Flazzy, that make malaria basically not a thing, and they make the graphics look a lot better. 'Cause the problem I originally had with Far Cry 2 is where it like goes blurry quite a lot, and not even with the malaria, just like quite desaturated, and it actually gave me headaches. Like very few games do that, but Far Cry 2 did. So then, like when you can get the modern mods for it that you know, like give you a higher field of view, um, you know, let you completely customize all the contrast and you know, saturation and everything and all that sort of stuff, makes the game so much more fun. I was saying about N64. I've actually bought Doom 64 recently because Doom 64 there's a PC port of that now. Because Doom 64 isn't obviously the same thing as the original Doom. It's like asset wise it is, but it's more like Quake engine running, sort of like Doom creatures, isn't it? But then sort of different levels. I liked Spider-Man on PS1. Um, PS2 Spider-Man was meant to be really good, but I can't remember if I ever played it. Oh, I did have one of the Spider-Mans on PS2, but not the famous Spider-Man one. I think that's Spider-Man 2, isn't it? I just had the one that's like the Spider-Man the movie, which is a bit meh. But Spider-Man 1 and Enter Electro on PS1 are good. Was that on PlayStation, Mike? Because I know they've actually redone most of those, haven't they, on like the PlayStation and Microsoft stores. But yeah, it was. I just bought it because Bethesda had obviously re-released it because they've got the rights to it now. And yeah, I was like, I've never played Doom 64 because I never had a Nintendo 64. So I was like, I might as well play it, seeing as weirdly it has the same soundtrack as the PS1 version of Doom, which is the original Doom. So it's not the game of the original Doom, but it's the soundtrack from the PS1's version of the original Doom. So that's confusing, isn't it? Let me have a quick search of that Cornholia. Dread Templar. When did that come out? This year? Or is it still not out yet? But yeah, I could see the appeal of that looking at the screenshots. Like you said, it's very Quake looking, isn't it? Saying that, I might replay a load of things like Painkiller and those other sort of, you know, like more modernish kind of Quake Doom style games. Right. With the games, can I say Tekken? But you haven't given me the option for Tekken. But right, with the films, I don't think I've seen the Mortal Kombat film, but I have seen the Street Fighter film. With you know, for me it was Tuesday. That so blatantly a Street Fighter film, even though it's shit. But it's got Raul Julia in it, hasn't it? As his like last ever film. So why was yours a problem today's remit? Mine was really easy to fit. It was just a case of swapping out the you know, like pads where it attaches to, and then just putting it on. I've never properly played DayZ or DayZ, whichever one you want to call it. You know, depending if you're American or English. Um, like even though I like Armor 2, I never really played it. I've played some other kind of clones of it, but it's not really my sort of game. Yeah, I know GoldenEye because I like Time Splitters 2, Time Splitters Future Perfect, and obviously Perfect Dark was made by Rare, the same developer. Yes, I know who made GoldenEye. Even though I don't have an N64, I do know GoldenEye. Yeah, why don't they re-release that now? Re-release GoldenEye, re-release Perfect Dark. There we go. All right, yeah, I don't think mine were very tough springs, so yeah, I guess yours was just unlucky with that, or luck. I guess it's going to be sturdy at least. All right, Peach? Yeah, because the problem for me, Flazzy, is if you say Daisy rather than DayZ, it's like a flower, isn't it? A daisy. 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 Do, 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 do. The Long Dark is the only sort of survival game like that I've actually kind of liked, just because The Long Dark seems more realistic than a lot of the others, because it seems more focused on not freezing to death. And I kind of just like its weird art style. Future Perfect's my favourite. Time Splitters 2 would be a close second, but I like Future Perfect just because it had the, best map maker in it. And, out of all the hours I put into them, it would be Future Perfect would be the most hours, then 2, then 1. But yeah, the amount of hours I must have played on Time Splitters 2 and Future Perfect on the original Xbox are crazy. That sounds good, A7V. Well, Fallout 3 was brought up already on this stream. If I can think of something good for a Halloween video, sure, I'll do one. If not, no, but hopefully I can think of something good. What's my favourite movie? Well, it's conveniently probably not that one, although that's in the background on the 4K collector's edition. There's actually 2 copies of it there, as we went over on the stream the other day. It's hard to say. You'd have to name me a genre, and I could tell you my favourite movie in that genre. But the problem is with sort of just saying outright favourite movie that changes depending on what genres we're talking about. I don't think GoldenEye was ever released on the PC. I think it was only Nintendo 64. Oh yeah, Robo Monkey. Well, when you set him on fire with the flamethrower dead stock, he goes, "I'm melting." I mean, I've done that in other videos, though. That's the only problem. I wouldn't be going out trick-or-treating, but... if this is this the Russian one where they claim the Soviets did nothing wrong? No, I've not seen that, and I probably wouldn't even watch it. I've seen the good Chernobyl series, the one everybody knows. Which is the cursed one, DVID cable? The one with the glowing mask, or what? That's what I just said, Crazy Egg. Yeah, because Deadstock above you said about the snowman. That's what I said. Yeah, the snowman goes, "I'm melting." Hardcore Hasher, that sounds like a fucking crime. And why would I want to give kids asbestosis? That's horrible. I know it's probably a joke, but still, like, the idea of, like, harming children just seems kind of pretty unpalatable. Right, favourite horror film? Well, here's a good one. Like, so let me have a good think about that. Probably, although it's more of a horror comedy, Della Morte dell'Amore. But, so that's Cemetery Man in English, but the proper Italian title is Della Morte dell'Amore, and that's a very strange, interesting, weird film. So it's got a lot of good practical gore effects in that. It's a good dark comedy. As for Apocalypse, because I'm kind of tempted to say 28 Days Later, but I really like the Day of the Triffids TV series, because they're both very good apocalyptic ones. Well, I suppose the scariest apocalypse film would be Fred's, because of how realistic it is. I like Shaun of the Dead, but I would honestly say I think Della Morte dell'Amore is a much better film. But if we have to speak about films where apocalypse is in the title, Apocalypse Now would be the only one I can think of. I was actually watching a Huey scene from that the other day for some reason. Like, have a few beers and then watch the Ride of the Valkyries bit. Just because... I only do it with people I trust, Jasper, unfortunately. So it's, if people have been around long enough in the comments and I think they're all right, then they can send it me and I can send it back, but otherwise, no. Didn't he say that ages ago and he didn't? The only one I liked, I don't even like 28 Weeks Later, in all honesty. Like I said, 28 Days I like. I don't really even like 28 Weeks. I just like 28 Days because it's very much Day of the Triffids, just with zombies in it rather than plants. No, I haven't. Chicken nuggets. Are you going to say, "Oh, you look like Will"? Is that what you're going to say? But no, I've not watched it. All right, Mike. All right, favorite science fiction movie. Right, I can point to that one now, can't I? There you go. If you don't like that, there's something wrong with you. Although saying about science fiction, I do obviously like Star Wars. I do like Flash Gordon and everything as well. But Dune is something very interesting, and it's people hate on it on purpose. There are some people that genuinely dislike it, but a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's that shit film." But at least now it seems a lot of people are actually rewatching it and going, "Oh, it's actually pretty good." Favorite war movie? Doctor Strangelove, probably, or either that or Where Eagles Dare. Doctor Strangelove, I guess, theoretical war movie. Real war movie, well, real. Where Eagles Dare. Is that the one about Winston Churchill? Unknown. Yeah, Radia Scan 701A is good. I've got mine over there, but I won't bother picking it up now and bringing it over. But yeah, mine's in there. It's the Geiger counter I honestly probably use the most alongside this, but this isn't the Geiger counter. Yeah, I'd agree with that, Justin. Although, when I rewatched Mad Max 2 recently, I think I prefer um, Mad Max 2 to Fury Road, but for a while I think I preferred Fury Road. But I like Mad Max 1 for what it is, because Mad Max 1, when I first watched it, I didn't like it as much because I went into it expecting it to be more like Mad Max 2, which it obviously isn't because it's set before everything's gone to complete shit. And the DVD I have of it has the fucking American dub as the primary audio option, not the original Australian audio. And that is not a way to watch Mad Max. So, yeah. Upon rewatching Mad Max, when I knew a bit more about the franchise, and then I rewatched Mad Max with the original proper audio on it, I enjoyed it a hell of a lot more. No, Rich. I saw that other nonce got let out of prison, though, didn't he? Raped and killed 2 kids. Because, I'm sure if sensible people are in charge of the justice system, child rapists and killers never get released. They'd just be shot in the head when they were found guilty. But, I am not a bleeding heart. Oh, poor killers didn't do nothing. I've done it before for a fun run, South Wales outdoors. I've done it before for a fun run going back 10 plus something years ago. ACM is literally because American studios who distributed it thought Americans wouldn't understand Australian. But yeah, that is literally the reason. It was a studio. I've never met an American who can't understand what an Australian person is saying, or at least most of them. But yeah, the thing like, they won't get what their accent is. They'll think it's a funny foreign film. So they redubbed it, but they didn't even redub all the lines. So there's bits that don't make sense in the American dub of Mad Max because they don't actually dub like stuff that's being talked about in the radio in the background, which is about fuel shortages and that, which is like the whole point of why everything's going to shit in the film. I like Die Hard 1 and 2. Die Hard 3's alright. After that, they're not very good. The original Die Hard trilogy is good. With Alan Rickman falling out a window and a bloke going through a plane engine, which seems a bit too close to comfort with some of the stuff going on recently. And then Die Hard 3. Can't remember how Jeremy Irons dies in Die Hard 3. Does he get crushed by a helicopter or something? I can't remember. Yeah, Tactical, I've been on 34 minutes. Yeah, imagine though, Nitrous, you've made me think of something. Imagine if Train Spotting had like a dub done to it in American. I'm just imagining that Train Spotting but dubbed. Wow, that'd be such a bad idea, but no. Last time I opened the cupboard where my M1 is in, it's not mounted yet. I think some of the rubber is looking dodgier on it though. So it might be worth me at some point doing a video showing some of the rubber up close where it doesn't look like it used to look, but it's not actually melted. You know, it's just like where some of the rubber looks like it's kind of had a cheese grater taken to it. You know, or I guess some of it's starting to kind of peel off or bubble a bit, but... I'm afraid, Jasper, I don't know enough about Western Flanders to understand how it's different from regular Belgians. But I can certainly understand some of the places, you know, where like the accents are totally different from nearby. That makes it even less like you want to watch it drunk Russian. The only thing I really like that's dubbed, like other than like Italian films, because when their Italian films are dubbed, they're just selectively dubbed to whichever audience it's going out on, so you can't really see a version where everybody speaks their original languages. Because if you don't know, with Italian films, they generally had the thing where each actor would just read their lines in their native language, and then they would just dub it over. So if you had a film that was seen, you know, like without any ad-lib audio, it would literally be people just talking to each other in different languages. But my favorite dub is probably Riccio, The Story of Ricky, because it's the only one where like those awful dubs actually sound good. Right, well, dubbing in a film is where, so say you've got a film in English and you're English, you wouldn't have a dub of it whatsoever. If you watch foreign films and you're sophisticated, you put subtitles on. So, you know, when somebody speaks, it just comes up in whatever your language is. If you are blind or too dumb to read, you like a thing called dubbing, which is where basically they just get people to talk over the other actors in your language, and it ruins lots of films. I was saying, especially when it's in English anyway, like we were saying Mad Max, and then they just dub it into American English because can't understand the Australians. I don't know why I was like trying to mix American and Australian. But... Oh yeah, there's loads of things where I just find the idea of dub horrible. Like, I wouldn't want to watch Downfall if it was dubbed. You know, there's some films I might watch a dub out of curiosity, but I'd rather watch it subtitled. And like I say, there's some films where you can't get around them being dubbed because how they filmed it, you know, it would never be in one language anyway. Because sometimes you have, the annoying thing is if you have a film that's dubbed where there's, because this is a thing that annoyed me. So right, Stalingrad, the Stalingrad film I really like. If you watch the original German version, and you've obviously got the subtitles on, the Germans are speaking German, it's subtitled in English. The Russians speak Russian, and it's subtitled in English. No problem. You watch the English dub of it, and they've dubbed all the Germans English, but I don't think they remember to dub the Russians, or if they did, they're just dubbed in English anyway. So you know what I mean? It's that annoying thing where it's like, you can't understand who's meant to be who. Well, yeah, Nick, there are some dubs I've heard which are pretty good, but I'm just saying, in general, I prefer reading, you know, as long as it's not like a language that goes super fast, so, you know, you then wouldn't be able to actually keep up with it while watching the stream. Favourite rifle from World War II? I'm tempted to say the M1 carbine. Either that or I've got one down there as a DIAC one, but can't pick it up because it's a stream. I mean, obviously, I like the Lee Enfield. I mean, the Swiss K31 rifles are really nice, but Switzerland was neutral in World War II, but you know they were around in that time period. I would assume so, Nitrous. There might be certain words that would be changed, because there's a bit in Shaun of the Dead, and this is quite interesting, that when they see the first zombie and they go, oh, she's really drunk, originally they scripted it as, oh, she's pissed, and then they had to change it because they thought in America and a couple of other places they'd think it meant that's somebody that's angry, not somebody that's really drunk. Exactly, Mike. If it's done like that, then I can appreciate it. But yeah, it's just more like I'm saying, I'm used to so many dubs that are just awful, you know, they're not quite in time with what the people are saying. No, definitely not a fan of the Transformers films. I've seen the first one with Megan Fox in and whoever else is in it. I've not seen any others except for that. I mean, if people paid me to watch them, I might watch them. But Michael Bay used to make good films, and he doesn't anymore. The PPSH 42 is in 7.62 by 25mm Tokarev. Not in a whatever that caliber is. Yeah, so that's why I like it in Riccio, Mike, because the film's just stupid anyway. So when you've got a bad dub on, if you had like good dubbing on a film like that, it would kind of not make sense because then the dubbing would seem too good. Like The Rock, I quite like Michael Bay's The Rock, even though nerve agents don't do anything like they do in the film. But you know, it's got Sean Connery in it when he was still alive. It's got Nicolas Cage. Yeah, there's a bloke I used to work with, Nitrous, that was actually properly like born and bred in London, and he could do all the proper Cockney stuff to the point you wouldn't be able to understand what he's saying because you'd only pick up a couple of the words here and there. All right, but if they were used in Korea by China, wouldn't they still be using 7.62 by 25mm though? Why would they have it recalibrated when they were given the guns and all the ammunition? And it's also when Hans Zimmer did good soundtracks as well, The Rock, before it became all that weird dubsteppy sounding stuff. Myra gets brought up nearly every stream, and the answer is always going to be the same. Myra do not make masks. Myra rebrand and sell other companies' masks at premium prices. Well, I mean, it's still a good submachine gun. I mean, it's very, very primitive, but, you know, the PPS 43, for example, is just a super cheap PPSH 41, you know, and it fixed most of the magazine issues as well. Yeah, Rich, I can understand what you mean by that. It's like if you're reading through, like a play script for the first time, you've not really blocked it out because then you don't really know what's going on with the physical action in the scene. Sadly, I do not have a Lewis gun. I have a Bren gun, a deactivated Bren gun, but I don't have a Lewis gun. Yeah, I know the Suomi. Well, the Suomi is what inspired the Soviet PPSH, wasn't it? Although, again, the Suomi was inspired by an older Russian submachine gun. So it's that kind of weird thing where one's sort of a copied and improved design, then it's copied and improved back again. Czech army surplus stores, because most of their masks are Czech. But they're not called Myra, that's the point. Anyway, I don't want this whole stream now to turn into Myra mask type stuff because it's one of those things that's very well known about if you look it up, and it's kind of just a bit annoying to talk about. Yeah, what something like that, Nitrous. But yeah, there's a load of Forgotten Weapons videos where he goes through the history of all of them, you know, like what one inspired what one. Yeah, crazy. The reason Mike deleted that is that can be a bit of a dodgy subject to bring up, especially in countries with strict gun laws. No, but you've seen this one, haven't you? So, other than that one, no, not at the moment. I have had some batteries turn up that might let me power one of my old Radiacs, but that's it. So I haven't actually bothered doing it yet, but I have got some 3D printed batteries that let you put little watch cells in to fit the fittings of several of the old Avo sort of machines. But yeah, it's not that I have a problem with like the bloke you're talking about or whatever, but it's a bit of a legally dodgy subject, and it's not really worth going down in these streams. FM12 is 40mm NATO, so NATO Stanag, and then anyone that's your preference depending on what you want to use it for. Obviously better companies are going to make better filters, but if you prefer a simpler filter that doesn't cover as many gases but is useful for what you want the mask for, then that's fine. Yeah, Rich. Yeah, like what you were just bringing up there is very similar, yes, to the bloke we're on about with his very expensive crossbows. Although some of those are slightly modified, at least, aren't they? All right, cheeky antics. I won't be on much longer. Now, I've been on 45 minutes now, haven't I? But yeah, I probably will do a review on this tomorrow, just because I think a couple of people like Top Hamp Man have asked for it, and I've had it now for about 2 weeks, so I think if it was immediately going to go wrong, I'd know by this point. And I've sort of got a rough idea of how well it keeps time, you know, per day, per week sort of thing. Yeah, so far I've actually really liked this watch, but you know, if you look on watch forums, half the people say they're crap. So, you know. Yeah, tactical. What was funny though, because we were saying about stealth games on my stream last night, although I still own it on PC-ROM somewhere, I just rebought it on the Steam release. I rebought Manhunt earlier because we were talking about it last night, and then I had a nightmare about Manhunt where there was like people trying to hunt me down in like an abandoned shopping mall. So I ended up like, you know, re-getting Manhunt and then just getting the Steam version so it's automatically patched to the latest version, and then just installing a fan patch to fix all the issues, and then just limiting it to 60 FPS because that otherwise breaks the game apparently if you run it more than 60 FPS. And I've been playing a few hours of that today and enjoying it. And it's basically over now, Nitrous. And I've already shown some on this stream, Unknown, so I'm assuming at this point you're doing this deliberately, are you? Because if I've shown stuff on the stream and then you're asking I have it and it's in the background, makes me a bit suspicious there. Anyway, I'll be off now. Mike said he's not on Twitch tonight, so I won't be on Twitch tonight either. So, see everybody. I don't know if I'll be streaming tomorrow, in all honesty, but I will have a video up. No, I've not even looked for any cheeky antics, in all honesty. But yeah, right, see everybody. Have a good evening.